Welcome to the Eat This Book podcast. I'm Michael Whitworth. Each day we take a small piece of scripture and we sit with it. Not a quick snack that disappears before lunch, not a chore you check off of a list, but rather a meal meant to be savored. So pull up a chair. Let's eat. These words sound familiar. Be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth. We've heard these words before. Genesis chapter 1, verse 28. The first commission. God blessing the newly created humans and sending them out to fill the world. Now, after the flood, God speaks the same words to Noah. A new beginning. A second Adam stepping off the ark into a washed world. The echo of Eden is unmistakable. But listen closely. This isn't Eden. This is something else. In Eden, God said, "Be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea and over the birds of the heavens and over every living thing that moves on the earth." Dominion, rule, a peaceful authority over creation, like a gardener tending a garden. But here, after the flood, the language shifts. Genesis chapter 9, verse 2. The fear of you and the dread of you shall be upon every beast of the earth. Fear. Dread. This isn't peaceful coexistence. This is something broken. The animals will now be afraid of humans. The relationship that was harmony in Eden has become something else. Not mutual trust, but predator and prey. The world after the flood is not the world before the fall. We sometimes imagine that the flood reset everything, that Noah stepped off the ark into a fresh start, a clean slate, Paradise 2.0. But that's not what Genesis 9 describes. The curse hasn't been lifted. The ground is still cursed. Human hearts are still evil from their youth. God said so in chapter 8, and now the animal kingdom lives in fear of humanity. This is a new world, yes, but it's a fallen new world. The flood washed away the wickedness, but it didn't wash away the fallenness. And then something new is introduced. Verse 3, every moving thing that lives shall be food for you. And as I gave you the green plants, I give you everything. Meat. Before the flood, humans were apparently vegetarian. Genesis chapter 1, verse 29 gave humanity every plant yielding seed and every tree with seed in its fruit for food. No mention of animals. But now, after the flood, God expands the menu. Every moving thing that lives. Animals can be eaten. Why the change? The text doesn't say explicitly, but I think it has something to do with the new reality of the post-flood world. In Eden, there was abundance. The garden provided everything. But east of Eden, in a world of thorns and thistles, in a world that just drowned under divine judgment, survival is harder. Protein is needed. Animals become food. Some see this as a concession, God accommodating human weakness in a broken world. Others see it as simply the next chapter of human development, a provision for a new situation. Either way, it marks a change. The relationship between humans and animals will never be the same. Fear and dread, hunter and hunted. But there's a limit. Verse 4, but you shall not eat flesh with its life, that is, its blood. You can eat the meat, but not the blood. Blood is special. Blood represents life. The Hebrew word is nephesh, the same word translated soul or living being elsewhere. The blood carries the life of the creature. So when you eat an animal, you must drain the blood first. You must acknowledge that even though this creature is now food, it was once alive. Its life belonged to God. You don't consume life carelessly. You don't treat death as nothing. This will become a major theme in the book of Leviticus. The blood of sacrifices, the blood on the altar, the blood that makes atonement, all of it flows from this principle established here with Noah. Blood is sacred because life is sacred. And that brings us to the heart of the passage. Verses 5 and 6. And for your lifeblood I will require a reckoning. From every beast I will require it, and from man. From his fellow man I will require a reckoning for the life of man. Whoever sheds the blood of man, by man shall his blood be shed, for God made man in his own image. Human blood is different. Animal blood is sacred. You can't eat it carelessly. But human blood is in a category of its own. If you shed human blood, there will be a reckoning. God will require it, and the penalty is severe. By man shall his blood be shed. This is the foundation of human justice. Murder demands the ultimate penalty, life for life. And the reason is stunning, for God made man in his own image. There it is, the image of God, from Genesis chapter 1, verses 26 and 27, now becomes the basis for human justice. Why is murder wrong? Why is human life uniquely sacred? Why does shedding human blood require a reckoning? Because every human being, every single one, bears the image of God. When you kill a human, you're not just ending a life, you're destroying an image bearer. You're attacking something that represents God himself. The image of God in humanity is what gives human life its infinite worth. This has massive implications. It means human dignity isn't based on ability or achievement or contribution to society. It's based on image bearing. The unborn infant bears God's image. The born infant bears God's image. The elderly bear God's image. The disabled bear God's image. The criminal bears God's image. You can forfeit your right to live. That's what verse 6 says. If you shed blood, your blood can be shed. But you can never lose the image. Even the murderer being executed is an image bearer. That's why justice matters. That's why even judgment must be measured. Notice what God is establishing here. Before the flood, there was no system of justice. Cain killed Abel, and God protected Cain from retribution. Lamech killed a man and bragged about it. Violence filled the earth, and no one stopped it. But now, after the flood, God institutes human government. By man shall his blood be shed. Humans are authorized to execute justice, not vigilante revenge, ordered, accountable justice, the foundation for courts, for law, for civilization. The pre-flood world collapsed into chaos because there was no restraint on violence. The post-flood world will have a check. When blood is shed, blood will be required. This is a sobering passage. It's not the triumphal return to paradise. It's not the establishment of survival rules for a broken world. Yes, be fruitful and multiply, but also the animals will fear you. You can kill them for food, but not without acknowledging their life. And if you kill a human, you will face ultimate justice. This is grace, but it's realistic grace. God knows what humanity is. He just said our hearts are evil from our youth, and so he builds in safeguards, limits on violence, consequences for murder, a framework for living in a fallen world without falling into the chaos that drowned the last one. Verse 7 brings it full circle. And you, be fruitful and multiply, increase greatly on the earth and multiply in it. The commission repeats. Despite everything, despite the fear and dread, despite the violence, despite the need for capital punishment, God still wants humanity to flourish. Fill the earth, multiply, spread out, be what I made you to be. The image of God is still there. The blessing is still in effect. The mission continues. So here's what Genesis chapter 9, verses 1 through 7 would have us savor today. If you've been expecting the world to be fixed, if you're frustrated that things are still broken, that sin is still prevalent, that life is still hard, this passage says, welcome to the post-flood world. It's better than drowning. It's held together by grace. But it's not Eden. Not yet. If you've wondered why human life is sacred, why murder is in a category of its own, why every life matters regardless of status or ability, this passage gives the answer. The image of God. That's the foundation. Every human being you see is an image bearer. Treat them accordingly. And if you're discouraged by the fear and dread that marks our world, the brokenness between humans and creation, humans and each other, this passage says, God knows. He built structures to hold things together. Justice exists because life is sacred. And the command still stands. Be fruitful and multiply. A new commission for a new world. Not Eden restored, but something given in grace. Be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth. But remember the blood, honor the image, and know that God is watching. Next time on Eat This Book, we're looking up, way up, at one of the most familiar images in the Bible, the rainbow. But Genesis doesn't treat it like a children's decoration. It calls it a weapon, a war bow, hung up in the sky. Why would God put a weapon in the clouds, and who is it really for? In Genesis 9, we'll explore the first covenant, a promise that covers not just humanity, but all creation, and a sign God gives to himself, the bow in the cloud. That's next time. If you've been blessed by the Eat This Book podcast, we would love it if you would give us a rating and review on either Apple Podcasts or on Spotify. Thanks for eating with me. Until next time, may the Word dwell in you richly.